Okay, thanks everyone. We are going to get started. I want to welcome all of you today to our information session for honors and postgraduate coursework programs offered at the School of the Environment. There's a very good chance that you are one of our current students and probably towards the end of your degree and thinking a little bit about where to from here. You've probably heard of the honors program. You've probably also heard of master's programs, and just we want to give you this information session so you can come to an informed decision as you make your next steps. So today we will be covering a good amount of information about both the honors program offered here at the school, but also postgraduate programs. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we are meeting today and pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. And we're also very excited that there increasingly is more and more research offered at the honors and postgraduate level with Indigenous scholars. So that is really, really exciting times ahead. If you're wondering why there's two good-looking gentlemen talking to you today, I've invited Ren Jie, who is our school's honors coordinator, because the first half of today is really dedicated towards the honors program. Yeah. So I've already collected some of the questions that have come from you, and we're going to just go through some of those questions first. When appropriate, I'm going to just pull up the website, the honors website, so that you know that that's the single source of truth. Yeah. So Renjie, how long have you been our honors coordinator?
Oh, I've been having the pleasure to become the honors coordinator since 2023. And I had the pleasure to really support through a few cohort of honors students from very diverse disciplines. So if you're already a member of School of the Environment, you would know that we have a very diverse range of disciplines. That actually speaks for the breadth that you can get in terms of research training and exposure to new ideas if you do an honors opportunity or honors project here with School of the Environment. So I guess today we're going to answer your questions. And also if you got any new questions, feel free to pop in the chat. We'll answer them one by one. Yeah.
So Renzi, the first question that most students ask is, if they are interested in honors, how do they even get started? Like, is there,
if you're interested in honors, hopefully you're interested in doing honors within School of the Environment. The keyword here is School of the Environment. You will go to our website. You will look for particularly two locations on the website of School of the Environment. One is our dedicated page of available projects. That will be under the research. Available honors and coursework master's projects. So our academic colleagues, we would put out our available projects onto this website on an ongoing basis. So what you really need to do is to revisit this website a few times in the course, before you apply for a project, because there might be new ones coming up, right? And also, do not restrict yourself onto this web page only, because there are lots of academics. They have ideas, brilliant ideas, but they are not ready to be posted onto this website because they want to see who they can work with. So the second place you should look for onto our website will be our people page. So from there, you have the whole full spectrum of disciplines available to you, and every single academics within the School of the Environment. You can find out what they look like, what their names are, and their research themes, and click on one of them and see what they put out as their description of research, and then see if your potential research interest would align with their description, and really feel free to email potential academic supervisors. I think the first step, you as a student becoming proactive in initiating this conversation is really important. Academics are usually busy people, but we are here to support students' success. We are very keen to hear from you, and then if you've got any interesting ideas, you can feel free to share with academics.
And we'll just add to that, Renzia, that please also don't be disappointed if you don't hear back from them. That might be a blessing in disguise, because, if they're genuinely very, very busy and have too many students, you already, you don't want a situation where you don't actually get enough support.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I guess the point here also would be how to make your first email as effective as possible. You want to be concise, to the point, but also you want to provide your potential supervisor with as much information as possible. I would recommend you attach your unofficial transcript to that email and then briefly describe why. It's like a pitch, right? Very concise pitch. Briefly describe what you're interested in doing and why you want to, have this initial conversation with this particular academic. Right?
Yeah. And perhaps the way to think about it is really, in many ways, as much as the supervisor has a lot to offer you, you also need to offer something to them, right? So as soon as you embark on an honors year or research project, it really is a two-way relationship, right? Awesome. So, Rancis, some of the, now that, we've started having this conversation, are there specific entry requirements into honors?
Yeah. Good point too. UQ website, actually I find UQ website very clear in terms of navigation and finding information. There is a GPA requirement if you want to do this Bachelor of Science honors degree. The requirement will be you need to score 4.0 or above in the complete set of your transcript. You also need to score at least 4.5 is shown here, 4.5 for 8 units of relevant courses, meaning the advanced or senior level courses, 300 and above, 1,000 and above. You need to, that is relevant to your potential research. So that is quite important to pay attention. I'm sure that will be something your potential supervisor will look for in your transcript.
Is there some flexibility with the interpretation of what is relevant? So for example, I recently met a student who comes from an environmental science background, but really wants to pivot into a marine related honors research. And so would someone that has environmental science, would that be relevant to marine biology, for example?
In your case, the one you just described, very likely the answer is yes. So this sort of shows the flexibility we have in order to support your success and your passion to progress, right? So these courses should be interpreted in the way that these are the knowledge needed for your intended honors research project. There's no prescribed selection menu in this, for example. It's really interpreted based on needs.
Facts. Awesome. Yeah. That's wonderful. The other question we always get is, especially for our UQ undergraduate students, they're so used to, I've got a major in this, I've got a minor in this. Do we have the same system in honors?
In honors, we do. If you look at this web page, you see fields of study. These are the fields of study that eventually will show up on your final transcript, actually, for your honors degree. As you can see, you might see the same term or very similar term as your extended major or major. Here's your opportunity to think about what kind of branding you want to put in your honors transcript, right? So these are your selections. All I have to say, in past years, often we find students, they're multidisciplinary, they're doing a multidisciplinary research. In their SINET system, they declare more than one fields of study. This actually is not allowed. So it's good to think about exactly what kind of branding you want.
So they really only can have one field of study for the honors year.
Exactly. But hopefully you find your true passion within that one.
Awesome. So this particular website, of course, has all of the fields of study because the honors program is so broad. And of course, a good number of these sit within our School of the Environment. I think it's really important as students, that the student experience you're going to get is really dependent on the field of study that you do declare, right? So that all of the students that really have a field of study administered by our school have a singular cohort experience. So Renzi, can you tell us a bit more about what that that student experience will look like in terms of coursework? And maybe
So
I might pull up, say,
maybe
ecology as
take
an
one
example.
right?
Yeah.
Honors year, often the way I think about honors year is your opportunity to enjoy a transition from student classroom setting to a professional setting. There are three different types of cohort you might interact within the honors year. One is through the fundamental research methods course, SCI 4000. This cohort, the student taking this course is actually honors students from the entire faculty of science. For example, this semester, we have 135 students in this course, all from different disciplines, from math and physics to ecology, to marine biology, to chemistry, and everything, right? So this is your opportunity to interact with a very broad range of students with different disciplines. This is beneficial because in the future, you might need to go collaboratively with your professional world. This is an opportunity to make sure your communication is clear, make sure you can work with other people collegially. So that's cohort number one. So cohort number two will be these research project courses. These courses are managed and operated within School of the Environment. So through these courses, we will have regular contact sessions in these courses. You interact with school-based community. For example, in School of the Environment, in this semester, we have about exactly 39 students starting, or 49. 39 or 49 students starting. So it's a large number of students. Then these students become your friends. We have social activities together. We do presentations together. So this is a different kind of cohort, closer to your home discipline. And the last cohort is when you interact with other students in your elective courses. So this is where you can really get creative in your in planning your journey. These courses are here, or the spot of these courses are here to enable you to go either deeper or broad in terms of your knowledge base. For example, you might decide to study OHS 3002, risk management, right? Because if you conduct research project or any projects, you might run into risk analysis. You might want to upskill your knowledge in this aspects. Or for the same reason, you might choose to do an engagement course, science engagement in community, for example. So these become your third different kind of cohort you can enjoy working with during your honors year.
Yeah, so it's really nice that you can, have the opportunity for that depth or that breadth, right? Through this elective list. So just to clarify, right? So there really are three main components of the honors in terms of coursework. There will be, and we can think of it in terms of units as a 2-12-2 format, where the 2 is a research methods course that unites all of the sciences and gives us core research skills. And I believe that they even go on some cool field trips that they get to, and there's entrepreneurship, there's ethics, and
site visit, animals, machines, chemicals.
Amazing. And then the 12 is the actual core project, which is where most of the students will do the bulk of their work. And then the 2 is the elective, which can be a breadth or can be a depth elective.
And we should also add the last 2, the elective course can be taken in either semester of your whole year. This gives you flexibility. Then also this will be a good test for many of you to see if you can clearly plan your journey, whether you have a strategic vision towards your whole year. We should also point out, students are not restricted to these courses.
Oh, yes.
See the provision of the last sentence here. Again, we're being very open-minded. If you can convince us, ultimately, the Associate Dean Academic, the course you are going to choose outside of this list can actually benefit you to support your success. You can take that.
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
a very simple approval process.
Because there's a good chance that if you were in fact an undergraduate student with us, you might have already done almost all of these courses. So you might find another really complementary course that is level 3 or higher, because it can even be a level 6 or level 7 postgraduate course if you have that desire or that interest, you absolutely can
Yeah.
apply for a variation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Renju, why are there 4 different honors course codes? It's so confusing.
Okay. So well, the good news is you can always ask our very friendly admin support team to clarify.
Yeah.
The reason is you all know a full unit, or sorry, a full study load would mean that you take on 8 units per semester. That's considered a full study load. If you're an international student, there's visa implication, there's also fees implication. So you have to take, you must take 4,000 in the very first semester of your study. Then you can choose either semester 1 or semester 2 to take your elective. So the course code here is really used to balance your workload to make it 8 units every single semester. So they're all 12 unit course, but the semester split is different.
Yeah, so it could be 4-8 or it could be 6-6.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then of course the reason why is that different course codes for different semester that is commenced. So don't be confused as to why there's so many. You actually will only ever be taking one.
Exactly. And we actually also run all of them together as one single course.
Cohort. Yeah, of course. So thanks, Renjia, for all of that. And again, if more questions come through, I'm just going to very quickly give everyone a brief overview of the architecture of our postgraduate coursework programs, because there are many of you that have actually asked us, in helping you make this decision, right? Should I do an honors or not? And why, right? So I'm going to just quickly go back to sharing my screen, and I'm going to just use the Master of Environmental Management as an example here, and just give me a sec to clean up my screen a little bit, and pull this one back out. Almost all of our postgraduate offerings have a very, very similar architecture. And by architecture, I mean, as undergraduates, you're familiar that there are core courses, there are electives. So that's what we mean by architecture. And across the 4 main postgrad coursework offerings, including environmental management, including GIS, Geographical Information Science, including OHSS, which Occupational Health and Safety Science, which has a companion occupational hygiene, and then also conservation biology and conservation science. So those are the broad pillars of postgraduate coursework. All of them have a similar architecture in that you can dedicate elective space to do research, right? And the beauty of it is that that's not going to penalize you from being eligible for higher degree research as well. So meaning to say that you can dedicate some of your elective room for research projects so that you can still move on to more research. Now, others, some amongst you know that research is off the table, right? You know you don't have the flair for it, and maybe it's not your thing. But that's the beauty of that flexibility. You don't have to do research. But if you want to, it is there for you. So I'm just going to give you a very, very quick overview using environmental management as an example, but all of our postgraduate coursework have a very, very similar architecture. So if you Google any of our postgraduate offerings, it'll take you to the study page, and really you want to go to this bit here, which is the ability for you to look at that program structure. Now, I'm just going to draw on the 2-year duration, because most people do a 2-year duration master's. And I'm not going to go through this in too much detail, but there are, again, when we talk about architecture, things like core courses that you cannot run away from. In this case, the Master of Environmental Management, for example, is really designed for people with absolutely no background in science and no background in the environment, right? So it really does start from scratch. Now, those of you that are already thinking, oh, well, that's not useful for me, I've been doing science for 3 years, well, then there are shorter duration programs that you can consider. So if you do have a relevant background, you can actually expedite your studies and jump in at a more advanced stage. But if you haven't, we also don't discount you, right? So you've got foundational core in this space, you've got flexible core courses that you can choose from, and you can see that all of them lend themselves really well and closely align with employable skill sets. You know, you're thinking about things like impact assessment. So there's a style of writing that you're being trained to do that you can take directly to the workplace. Then in this case, there are core courses. These two are focused on research skills, so applied research methods, as well as problem solving. Then there are flexible core courses, okay? But what I really wanted to talk to you about is the space of program electives. And all of our postgraduate coursework give you room for program electives. And you'll have a look at them and they will, and I already got a question from the chat a while ago, why is it so confusing? Why is it that there are 2-unit research courses, 4-unit research courses, 6-unit research, 8-unit research courses? So in a nutshell, the reason why is, again, we want to give you that flexibility. You choose the depth of research you want to do. The distinction, the way to think about this, right? The distinction between 2 and 4 and 6 and 8 is workload, right? It is workload. So needless to say, it's a proportional amount of workload based on how many units are on offer.
So the current requirement is recommendation would be every 2 unit, you spend 10 hours?
Per week of engagement time, right? So that's a workload thing. Now, that is also proportional to the expectations from an assessment perspective, right? So you will find that for a lot of these research project courses, the core assessment is really that report, right? That comes at the end of it. And there is some expectation and encouragement that that's presented in a format that is used in conventional research. So in fact, most of our students that do research projects, they're working towards a publication. So this is not a bad thing, right? So the differences in terms of that assessment is word count, because the word count is our best indicator of workload. And so you will find that distinction across the 2 and the 4 and the 6 and the 8. But something that is really, really crucial here is that if you are planning on taking advantage of a master's qualification, because maybe you're in the boat where, you know, I don't know about honors, but I'm thinking of master's, maybe I want to do a PhD, but then if I don't, I also, you know, want to have a master's qualification, right? Because there are specific jobs out there that at the bare minimum are looking for a master's qualification. Well, then you really need to do the 8-unit thesis, right? Because this is the requirement for entry into a higher degree research, right? So if you want to be eligible for a PhD application, they're gonna insist that there is at least 8 units of research.
They need you to provide evidence that you got enough volume of past research experience.
That's right, and that will be something that the 8-unit thesis can provide you. So this is really the key message I want to give with our postgraduate suite, and that is that the architecture is similar in that it is coursework, right? So you do have some structure in terms of courses that you need to do and progress. There is flexibility in terms of electives that you can choose, and within that, it can be electives about that are coursework, but it could be electives dedicated to research. And if you choose to move on to more research beyond your time in that master's degree, choosing the 8-unit one is really quite crucial.